The Justin Robert Young podcast is brought to you, as always, by patreon.com/JuRY. Hey, listen, guys. This is amazing, man. We're in rare air with this Patreon. It has succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. True story. On Friday, I wound up reconnecting with a bunch of people at my old job, the Go Game, and a lot of them were just asking, like, "Hey, what's going on? What are you up to? What you doing?" And the biggest thing that I could point to is this Patreon, patreon.com/JuRY. This is not me being a part of something larger. This is not me teaming up with anybody. This is just me and you, your mama, and your cousin, too. I mean, if you want to let them know that they can subscribe to the podcast. Anyway, patreon.com is where you can support me directly. Thank you guys so much for doing it. Again, it's the best deal in podcasting. 4 hours of entertainment, and you only pay once. It's only for this show, the JuRY Show. 3 episodes of Politics come on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But I thank you guys so much for helping out with this show. But enough talking about patreon.com/JuRY. What do you say we just go ahead and do the damn show?
On the day that we met on the internet, I asked her for a photograph. She sent it over to me, said, "I know it's ugly," and I said, "Girl, ugly ain't the half, look at you. Well, you got blue teeth and you only got 2 teeth, but I kinda like to see you smile. And it appears that over the years you've turned into a big old steaming pile." And she said, "Yeah, I know I ain't no supermodel." I said, "You ain't a hand model, baby, but that's fine, 'cause you're pretty ugly by most people's standards, but you're alright by mine."
I'm gonna have to move this show. I'm gonna have to move this show. I'm gonna have to move it. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I gotta move this show because too many things are happening on Sunday nights these days. I don't know where I'd move it. It's not like I have a whole lot of empty spaces in my weekday schedule. But this used to be a kind of fun, relaxing thing, and now there's just so much stuff, and there's a lot of travel, and I don't know. Yeah, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out all together. But we're here now, and that's all that matters. Hello, my name is Justin Robert Young. This is the JuRY Show. JuRY stands for Justin Robert Young, if you haven't picked up on it. This is not a gathering of one's peers wherein a verdict is rendered by way of an adjudication. No. This is the Justin Robert Young Show. It's a show in which I talk about whatever the hot hell I want. What do I want to talk about today? Well, listen, there is a show for which I have found very influential. I was a huge fan of it. I am a huge fan of it. I've mentioned it here before, but it's recently relaunched as a podcast. It used to be a radio show out of Washington, D.C., wherein sports writer and television personality Tony Kornheiser used to do a show for various different stations. He has left terrestrial radio to come do a podcast, to which I say, welcome, Mr. Tony. We have been waiting for you. But one of the things that I always took from his show is that he was very unapologetic, A, about his lifestyle, and B, he felt that even the most mundane ridiculousness, if you spell out your life and people are invested in who you are, that you can talk about something that's very, very tiny, small, doesn't matter. But if it matters to you, if it engulfs you, if you are a character for which the audience can relate to, then they will go on that journey. And lo, Tony Kornheiser does minutes upon minutes, hours upon hours of talk about local weather, his traffic pattern between his house and his work, and various other things. And everybody listens, and they love it. They're following along with a consistently told narrative story. And I've always admired that. I love that. Number one, because it aids and abets laziness in favor of creativity. If you are creative enough and you can illustrate your world enough and you can give people enough hooks to relate to their own situation enough, then you can be lazy and not show prep. You can just go to work, or you can figure out something about, the cable going out. You can just have these elements in your life, and all you got to do is tell him well, and I love that. I would listen to his show. I do listen to his show, and I admire and just absolutely am rhapsodized by Mr. Tony's tellings. And so in that vein, I'm going to take two elements of his show, and I will bring them to you in my poor rendition. I'll take two of his standard bits, A, just talking about a thing he did, and B, relating it to a song that has not been popular since the 60s. And I will bring to you this first segment. I went to a thing this week. If you are in the San Francisco Bay Area, I would highly recommend it to you. It's called Speakeasy. You can go to their website, speakeasysf.com, I believe. And it is what you would refer to as immersive theater. So, normally you go to a show, sit down in the audience, lights go down, show comes on, people do the show, they're done with the show, you leave. This is different. Here, you are brought, number one, they send you this email and they say, hey, show up at this point. Also, you're not going to be allowed to buy anything inside with a credit card. You got to enter in a credit card through a web form earlier. Okay, so we do. Also, this is going to be a show wherein you'll be transported back to a speakeasy in the early 20s in San Francisco. So if you would like to dress period appropriate, we would encourage you to do it. Furthermore, if you can't dress period appropriate, just dress nice. Furthermore, if you can't dress nice, then just don't show up in sandals and a show me your tits tank top, right? Like, just come on. This is a 1920 speakeasy. It's not a NASCAR infield. I don't say that, but that's what I take it as. Just come on. Wear something like you'd wear to a nice restaurant or something, right? Come on. No jerseys. So we show up. Me, Ashley, John Teasdale, my co-creator with the Contender, and his girlfriend, Jess. Now, the girls are all dressed up. John's dressed up in more period-appropriate stuff. I just got a suit and tie on, right? You immediately meet up with these people, and they're like, all right, you're going in. But first rule, speak easy. Don't yell. Now, they tell you that because around you, what you're going to find is a lot of people that are just having conversations, and the performers will try to speak louder than everybody else. But if, let's say, you've got a couple rowdy patrons for which they cannot control the tone of their voice, for those listening on audio, I'm pointing at my own head, and that's especially a problem when you've had a few drinks. I am now pointing at my head at a more rapid pace. Then it would help if you were warned beforehand, just don't yell. Huh? Okay. So then they let you know that you will be kicked out if you take any pictures. You will be kicked out if they see you using your cell phone. And to achieve that, they give you sealable envelopes for you to put your cell phone in. So we do. We head in. And we are brought to tables at a 1920s cabaret. And it looks gorgeous. It's ornate. It's amazing. The performers up there are doing very period-appropriate stuff. The MC is fantastic. The singing's great. The dancing's great. And periodically, there's little story elements, and they do it in a really smart way. They got these directional mics that are really smart and cool, and they will make sure that you can, through lighting cues, pick up where you're supposed to be looking. It's very well done. Now, I don't want to go into a lot of the storyline because that's part of the reason why you go, but safe to say that you wander around a cabaret, a bar, a casino, and the backstage area for all of it. You can then surreptitiously see into rooms that you wouldn't otherwise normally see. The boss's office and a dressing room specifically for the showgirls. And therein, over the next several hours, a story unveils. And you can follow whatever performer you find the most fascinating. So I got invested in the marriage of the owner who has to keep together this illegal enterprise and his real sawbone wife. And so I'm following them around. They're really great about doing very subtle audience participation stuff. It was fantastic. If you've never been, probably the most comparable thing is a show in New York called Sleep No More, wherein it is a very abstract telling of Shakespeare's Macbeth. This is a little bit more pulp narrative, right? There ain't a whole lot of symbolism to this. Like, it's not like, oh my God, is that goat head supposed to symbolize, the death of Lady Macbeth? No. It's like, you stole money, I'm going to break your fingers. It's like, the boss is sleeping with a showgirl and now his wife showed up. Like that kind of stuff. Easy on the brain. Want to know what else is easy on the brain? The drinks. Because it's a speakeasy. So they have a very, 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 very easy way to plug into the fact that they are encouraging you got blotto. And I don't want to say who in our party got mega drunk. And in yet another nod to Mr. Tony, I will just say it was the one that was related to me by marriage. But you get so bombed and you're so into it that you want to I had to stop somebody in our party from writing a little note of you're our favorite to one of the performers. And I don't blame her. The lady was great, but you're wrapped up. This is all I'm saying. It's very, very immersive. So there are a lot of clever things story-wise that they do. It takes place during a very specific night in San Francisco, and there's a reason for it. And it all kind of comes to a crescendo at the very end. And like any musical, and this is not a musical in the traditional sense of every 20 minutes, no matter what's happening in a scene, somebody's got to break into song. Not I got to return a book to the bookshelf. Not that, right? But there are songs, it takes place in a cabaret. A lot of people sing and dance. The bar's got a piano. A lot of people sing and dance in there. But it feels lively and with music and not necessarily a musical. But yet, like any good musical, it ends with a big musical number. And I'm going to play, listen, YouTube be damned here on this one. I'm going to play a version. This is the first version of this song as it was popularized. This is just a little bit of Mary Hopkins' Those Were the Days.
Once upon a time there was a tavern where we used to raise a glass or two. Remember how we laughed away the hours. Think of all the great things we would do. Those were the days, my friend. We thought they'd never end. We'd sing and dance forever and a day. We'd live the
song is kind of perfect for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's got this tale of, it's inherently taking place in a tavern. It has loss, regret, like all those cool things. Now, these songs in general are very much in my wheelhouse. I love sad bar songs for whatever reason. Maybe it was my misspent youth where my alcoholic father used to park me and my little brother in front of arcade machines while he would get blotto, that I just have some inherent love for the human condition that exists at a last chance establishment. But for what a show that is very, very meticulously time-stamped in the day that it says it is supposed to be, I found this to be a curious decision as I started to research it. Because the version you are hearing right now is Mary Hopkin. This was actually one of the first singles that came out on Apple Records. The record label started for the Beatles by Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney produced this version of the song. But the song has been around forever. Apparently, Georgian and Russian singers Tamara Tezzarelli, I just made her a Grease character, Tessertelli, I don't know, and Alexander Vertinsky made what were probably the earliest recordings of the song in 1925 and 1926, respectively. However, that was in its original Russian. This is based on a Russian folk song, Djorny Dinir. By the Long Road, apparently, is what it's called in the original, composed by Boris Fomin, who lived from 1900 to 1948. It deals with, according to Wikipedia, reminiscence upon youth and romantic idealism. However, in 1968, Mary Hopkin became a number one hit in the UK singles. So this song apparently was popular, but it was only in the 60s that Raskin, what's his name? Gene Raskin wrote English lyrics to that melody. And it became a gigantic hit. Now, here's what I love about it, is that, like, in that last moment, and here's the other great part about that song, is that let's see if we can.
Oh, my friend, we're older.
So this is like the big ending.
For in our hearts the dreams are still the same.
But I love this chorus here.
Those were the days.
So by the end of this, the entire
we
place
thought they'd
is
never
rocking.
end.
Everybody's singing along
Sing
to it.
and dance forever and a day.
It's got that kind of that oompa sort of thing,
Live
right?
the life we choose. We'd fight and never lose. Those
But
were
here's the key.
days. Oh, yes,
And this is the key to
those
any
were the
drunk
days.
song.
La, la,
Part of the chorus is just la, 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 la. Because there's something that you need in a drunk song, and that is easily rememberable lyrics, right? You need to have just a part of your drunk song that just la, 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 that, that. So you're just singing la, la along with the chorus. I just love it. Well, people are saying, wait, is it Jewish music? I mean, like, theoretically, yeah. I mean, a lot of what we understand now as American Jewish culture is because of the diaspora from Eastern Europe. This is a Russian song. A lot of, Russian, German, Eastern European culture is what we understand in America as Jewish culture. So, yeah, I can understand where you could get a bit of a Jewish vibe to it. But let me just name you guys a few of the people that have covered this song. All right? Bing Crosby. Ba, 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 ba. Dolly Parton. Shaggy. The Iranian rock band Kiosk. And Australian country artist Nia Robinson is probably the most recent chart-topping cover of it in 2013. There is something about sad bar songs, man. And I love it. My favorite song of all time, favorite Sinatra song of all time, Let me pull that back a little bit. But it's in my top 5. Is One for My Baby and Another for the Road, which is just like the saddest of all the Sinatra songs. I always love sad Sinatra songs for this reason, because Sinatra was a sad guy. Here's something that you might not know. The more you read about the Rat Pack, there was really only one ultra comfortable in his skin person in that group, and it was Dean Martin. Here's how comfortable Dean Martin was in his skin. Dean Martin made a career off being the drunk guy. He would get up on stage and he would act like a drunk, and that was his shtick. And then eventually he just got so bored of doing it that he would literally get drunk on stage. But that dude invented a gimmick and then lived the gimmick later. But by all accounts, he was the only person who was really had a head on his shoulders. You know, you got your externals, your Joey Bishops that were just servile, scum-sucking puppies, right? Bouncing around to all sorts of power players, trying to make sure that he gilded himself in the right way. You got Sammy Davis Jr., who was probably the most talented of everybody, but, I mean, geez, to get in between those dudes' ears, I mean, considering where he came up from with very overbearing parents and then bouncing around as a black Jewish guy in the 60s, marrying a white wife, and, you know, from Hollywood legend, apparently liked to play around on all sides of the fence, that guy was just dealing with a lot, right? And Frank Sinatra, who is kind of credited as being the archetypical cool dude with a K, was really just the most insecure person you could imagine. He couldn't hold down a relationship. He famously liked to have sex with hookers more than find a relationship, because at least he knew where he stood with everybody. I mean, he was awash with fame. He had to deal with it on a level that nobody else in that group really did. But he was looking for validation. It's why he took his rejection from John F. Kennedy so hard. It's why he wound up continuing to pal around with people like Momo Giancana and the mob at the time. He wanted to be liked desperately, which is why I love the sad songs. Because, like, My Way, like, listen, that's power fantasy, right? That's what you want to say. When you are at your highest of highs, those are the songs that you sing to yourself. But really, we're all a lot more. One for My Baby and One for the Road. And if you haven't heard these songs, go to your Spotify, go to your YouTube, go to your Apple Music, and play these songs immediately. Because I've already played one copyrighted song, and I don't want to get this video pulled. But I feel like it's more authentic. I feel like Frank Sinatra sings that song and finds more of himself inside of it than he does Summer Wind, right? Or, you know, Fly Me to the Moon. You know, with his exotic flute. What's the lyric? There's a newt with an exotic flute, and he'll toot. No, there's something, and he'll toot his flute for you. Tell me, like, I don't think he's listening to that and saying, yeah, baby, toot my flute. I mean, he probably said that. But he probably doesn't say to himself, like, yeah, Frankie, toot his flute. That's something that I would say. And I'm sure he thinks about lyrics like, you know, this torch that I found about his love for an unrequited lover. It's got to be drowned or I'm going to explode. Like, that's human, right? Like, that is our nature. That is the explosive, rough, jagged edge of us interacting with each other. I love the sad songs. And for whatever reason, my favorite reflection of humanity is at its lowest. Is that, you know, in these songs, these, you know, sad reflections on youth gone by. Because that's really what defines us, our sadness. Because we don't want to admit the happiness makes us happy. And if we do, then we find like we're deluding ourselves. So we make sadness our common denominator. And that's not bad. There's a lot of other things that could be. But there we go. That's my thought. That's my little own version of Old Man Song. Or Old Guy Radio. Whichever one you want to call it. Let's go ahead and get right into emails because we have a bunch of them here today. Thank you for everybody for emailing in. And apologies for taking some time to get to this because we've had just a weird couple weeks. But, of course, you can email me, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Again, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Connor writes in, I've got a close friend of mine, Emily, who lives 4 hours away. She caught feelings for my friend of less than a year, Adam. She wanted to date. Adam regularly tells me about how hard he's going to smash. Adam is fully aware of how close Emily and I are. I told Emily that Adam was only trying to bone, and I quote, Connor, who should I F first, other girl 1, other girl 2, or Emily? Fast forward to the summer. Adam and I are back in our hometown. He flip-flops a few times to Emily on what he wants, either to be dating or friends or dating or friends, and they end up dating. Now he's mad at me because I'm two-faced. Here's the kicker. He and I are roommates with 2 other guys, and now he's giving me the cold shoulder, not talking to me and trying to cut me out of things. What to do? Do I apologize? Do I give up on being friends with Adam? In Adam's words, I don't think I could ever accept an apology. I don't think I'm in the position to apologize. Thinking about if we were put in the same situation, I do the exact same thing. Ideally, I just want him to stop acting like such a baby. He admitted to Emily that it's stupid that he's mad at me, and I have to agree with him. All right, Connor. Well, number one, it sounds like this is some grade A, prime cut college bullshit. Like, this is just the good news is you're not going to have to deal with a lot of these. If you play your cards right, these are the kind of monkey bars that you're going to learn on, and you're going to be a better person for learning lessons and how to deal with it. Now, Connor wrote me a longer version of this email that he thankfully gave me this Cliff Notes thing to read. But in his longer version, he made mention that at some point he told his friend Emily, for whom Adam wanted to smash and or date, that Adam was telling him in confidence that he kind of just wanted to have sex with Emily and didn't want to date her. So before we get to what you should do now, Connor, let's talk about where you effed up. You effed up by telling Emily that. Now, you might think that this is some sort of bros before hoes omerta code. It's not. This is a lesson that you will cherish for the rest of your life. Some people, and by some people, I mean most people, don't want spoilers. They don't. They don't want to know that they're headed to a ravine. Sure, if it's life or death, you got to tell them, right? If it's something that might hurt them physically, you got to tell them. But in matters of the heart, yeah, usually not. It's not going to do you a lot of good to tell your male friend that the girl that he really wants to get involved with is in the Belle Biv DeVoe of it all, poison. And it's certainly not good, for you to do what happened, which is to tell your female friend that the dude she wants to deal with is a bit of a dick. Here's when you give this advice. You give this advice when it is explicitly, and I mean explicitly, asked of you. And if you feel that your relationship will change because you are omitting something like that high of a bar that you would have to then apologize for lying, that's when you tell them something like this. Anybody. It's a weird thing because what you did was logical. You would think that Emily would want to know that Adam's kind of a player. And that specifically, he did not want what she wanted. They did not share values to the best of your knowledge. And now where are you? This dude's pissed off. And he believes that you told tales at a school. Now, for Adam, who knows where the kid's head's at? Maybe he really liked Emily, but he wanted to posture to impress you that he was a virile buck in the woods, just trying to bang every doe around each and every tree stump, right? But that's where you screwed up. So understand that. Now let that inform how you handle things. You should apologize to Connor. You should apologize to Connor and say, hey, listen, no matter what happened with Emily, it was out of line for me to tell her things that you knew, that you had told me in confidence. I violated your trust. I understand if you don't want to place any more in me, but just know that on my ledger, I know I screwed up. And then, run. I don't mean, like, don't talk to him. I mean, like, try to actively take any expectation out of your life that you're going to have any interaction. Because you live together. Eventually, you're going to wind up dealing with each other. But you don't want to be waiting around because you got your own life to live. You got to figure out your own stuff. So set your own plans. Make your own things. And when it's appropriate, invite him and Emily along when they're in the same place at the same time. But the best thing that you can do sometimes is just the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm. That's it. First, do no harm. Don't interact. Let that stuff heal by itself. But I would say, for your own sake, maybe you throw in a little just like, you want to know what? I went over the line there. Craig writes, Craig! I don't know if you've ever touched this before, but I was catching up on past episodes while driving in Pennsylvania and noticed several cars with the rear end covered in bumper stickers. So I thought you might have an interesting take on the people who feel compelled to brag about themselves. He's thinking in specific the 13.1 marathon stickers, or shout their social or political leanings to everyone behind them. Craig, you're in luck, because I do have an opinion about bumper stickers. I believe that bumper stickers are proto-tattoos. That if you ain't got the gumption or the inclination to get a tattoo, that you get a bumper sticker. Or rather, it's kind of the other way around. People with bumper stickers usually also have tattoos. Now, I'm not saying that either are wrong. I'm just saying that it is a certain kind of personality type. People who want to ornament themselves to say something a little bit more about who they are. Now, I don't blame them. For this reason, we don't get to tell other people non-verbally what we look like. They do. So, for example, right now, I've got a big old beard, right? I have a swarthy olive skin complexion, a little oily, and I've got curly black and gray hair. It's become a running joke, but if I venture into chat rooms that are not friendly, like they're not our chat rooms, I will almost invariably get one of two comments within the first 5 minutes. Are you Arab? Are you Jewish? Are you Mexican? One of those two. Jewish and Mexican are probably tied. Arabs, head and shoulders, number one. I don't get to choose that. It's funny because I'm none of those. But I don't get to choose what people think that I am. Likewise, when people see my beat to holy crap 2007 Toyota Matrix, they will make assumptions on my car. I do not get to be in every person's head and decide how they should take it. So if I would have an opportunity to skip to the front of the line and get some brand messaging out there, maybe I would. Now, I have my own kind of religious personality about, or, personal belief about this, specifically that, like, I can only accept everybody's judgment if I am to have any judgment of my own. But, in another world, maybe I would put a bunch of bumper stickers on. I think I have an Apple thing in my back window. That's probably as close as I get. And I certainly sell stickers at stickersordIAF.com, and those go very well on bumpers. So I'm into it. I'm down with it. Except I wouldn't get a tattoo because, even though I'm not Jewish, I still want to just keep it an open option that I could get buried in a Jewish graveyard. Sam from Michigan writes, can I get a shout out for my buddy Mike on the next JuRY show? He's one half of DTAC, and this weekend he's getting married to one of my best friends. I could not be happier for Mike and Michelle. They are two of the folks who, or Mike apparently is one of the folks that does this awesome music that I've often played during the show. So let's go ahead and get a big salute for the now married Mike. We can also take this time to bring up two very important things. Number one, the Contender, the game of presidential debate. Hey, I don't know if y'all heard, but there is a gigantic debate going on tomorrow. You're going to want to pay attention to @Contender Game on Twitter, @Contender Game on Instagram, and Facebook.com/TheContenderGame, because we're going to be doing a lot of fun things there, including putting together our first expansion. We're going to do a 10-card expansion for each debate. They're going to be $10 a piece, but we are going to write them the night of, and we will have them to you ASAP. We're going to rush print them, and we're going to get them in your hands as soon as possible, hopefully before the next game night after the debate. So you guys are going to have cards that will have just been on television in your life. They will begin to go on sale tomorrow morning for the first debate, the Battle of New York. That will be available at thecontender.us. But also follow all of our social, because we're going to be making memes during the debate. We're going to be having a great time. We're all going over to the headquarters, the Contender headquarters, and we're going to have a great time watching the debate. It's going to be awesome. So go ahead and check it out, thecontender.us. I don't know if I'm going to be live because I won't be in the studio. So I don't know. Part of me thinks I should just take the night off from live commentating, but knowing me, I probably won't be able to, and I'll be on like Facebook or what's it called, Periscope. Yeah, so I'll figure it out. Also, buy stickers or DIAF. Again, like I mentioned, I sell sticker packs. They're really fun. I think you should go ahead and check them out. $5 get you 7 stickers. They are all illustrated by Carter Johnson. And, man, I think they look really, really great. So, stickers or DIAF.com. And now, let's get to the main event. I asked you guys to write in a couple weeks ago about your anxieties. Your anxieties. And, man, we got a bunch of them. Let's dig in right now. Crunchy writes, what causes me anxiety? Subway, Chipotle, and all food restaurants that make you instruct them on how to make your order. They have nutrition facts, calorie counts, and a list of ingredients for a veggie sub, but won't let you just order a veggie sub. They insist that you tell them how to make it. If I wanted to do that, I'd make it myself. They're called sandwich artists. They are the ones who should know how to make a good sandwich. And to make it worse, you have to decide relatively quickly what you want on it, Otherwise, you create a big line. And if you tell them to surprise you, they act like you slapped them in the face. It's too much pressure. I'm bad at decisions. Have you seen how horribly wrong things go when people get to make their own choices? Marriages, careers, place of living. I don't want my choice in food to lead to such possible disastrous consequences. This is great. This is why I always loved, I loved Wawa and Sheets, because you don't have to talk to somebody. You just go up to a little kiosk and you go like beep boop 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 beep bop boop. And meanwhile, some, high school dropout makes your sub, and it's great. They don't have to talk to me and pretend like they're good at customer service. I don't have to talk to them and pretend like I want to have a conversation when really all I want to do is dig my face into a double meat spicy Italian. Hum, hum, hum. But that's interesting. I love that one. Thank you, Crunchy, one of the all-stars of this show. Mike in the Snow writes, what triggers my anxiety is people. People in quantity, large groups and small spaces, i.e., concerts, conventions, clubs, bars. I'm not claustrophobic. I have fit through a 7.5-inch high passage in a cave and had a great time. It's just the people. Well, that's, listen, there is a fine line between like not digging crowds and agoraphobia, right? But, you are not alone. I know plenty of people that just don't dig that mass of humanity. I don't quite know what it is. Like, is it just probably just all that people entail, right? That they might judge you, that they might punch you, like that they might steal your wallet, that they might be dressed better than you. I'm sure that there's a million different things. Adam writes, as an already fairly anxious person, the one thing that triggers my anxiety more than anything else is a woman I used to date and see casually. If I'm at a bar and I see someone with a similar build or haircut, I can feel my pulse start to race and the 1,000-yard stare set in. I can get the anxiety to subside by reminding myself that the relationship was a toxic one and she wasn't the kind of person that made me feel good about myself. I could probably write a short novella about the whole experience, but I'll keep it short. Love the show and your insight into experiences like this. Now, this is very interesting, Adam, because you started out by saying that it's the woman that triggers your anxiety, but really it is the reminder of the woman that triggers your anxiety. Like, if somebody looks like that woman, you get anxious about it. Which, that's a rough one, man. You got to confront that. I like a lot of these. I'm not going to be very judgy on like how you should deal with it. This one I'm going to be a little judgy. You need to like intentionally go and talk to a woman that looks like that old woman. Like even just to be nice, just to say like, oh, I'm sorry, you looked like a friend of mine. What's your name? Like, it will just do you good to understand that your ex is not Dr. Doom, and she has created a race of Doombots to follow you around and make you feel bad about yourself. Michael Schwan writes, I definitely feel like so much of your show from Monday was talking to me. I've been podcasting for over 2 years now and currently run only one show. It's a 4-day-a-week news show, and we just recently started to finally gain traction in accruing a larger listener base and Patreon patrons. Every time my email goes off and I see a new patron, my heart sinks into my stomach. I feel my whole body go somewhat cold and my breath damn near stops. I just sit there trying to make sure I'm still in reality. I then spend the next few hours freaking out because those people are now putting their faith and money in me and my co-host to not suck and deliver a good show 4 times a week. It is a wonderful feeling, but it's extremely humbling and generates a surprising amount of anxiety for me. It is no longer something that I'm doing purely for fun. I generally deal with it by running around and telling every single person in my personal life until finally my excitement and anxiety both subside somewhat and I can continue with my day in a normal fashion. That is until I go home and squee to my significant other about it, and then we start the whole cycle over again. Michael, I'm going to tell you this. This is professional advice. We're done. Like, I don't want to be, armchair psychologist guy. This is just podcaster to podcaster. Knock that off. Do not let yourself get that high. Do not let yourself feel proud, a warming glow of pride within yourself, and then shut it down. Not because you shouldn't be happy. Not because you shouldn't take that happiness and remember how it made you feel. But because, man, if you let yourself get away with the highs, you will damn sure let yourself get away with the lows. And God forbid, man, I'm going to let you know, if you hit big on Patreon, and I just mean big enough, like not like kind of funny big, right? Where, everybody can buy a Maserati, but just like pay your rent big. Eventually, you're going to start to see some of the activity that pay your rent big Patreons have. And one of those is after a few months, you're going to hit one of those first of the months, and you're going to see a bunch of people cancel their subscriptions. Now, I'm going to tell you now that the reason that happens is totally out of your hands. It doesn't have anything to do with the quality of your show. Doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they're upset about a decision you made. It has to do with people's support, and then things happen in life. And every once in a while, you're going to get one of those months where 3 or 4 of those people drop off at the same time. And if you feel this happy, you will indulge yourself and feel that sad. So professionally, let me just tell you this. Start to work on your discipline. Understand that your body and actions can be molded, and don't get too high because you're protecting yourself against getting too low. Anonymous Diamond writes, I get a lot of anxiety from meeting old acquaintances, especially random people from college that friend me on Facebook. I don't really like catching up with people. Recounting my life just doesn't interest me, and I'm not interested in hearing about what other people have been up to. I also have an irrational fear that they will ask, so why did you stop talking to me? If I answer truthfully, I'd say we never really had that much in common. This has come up recently when I got into a Facebook message from a person I went to high school with and was invited to join a group, presumably to talk about the upcoming reunion. I haven't accepted that invite, and I'm not sure I ever will. I want that chapter of my life to be closed and put on a bookshelf. I've known plenty of you, Anonymous Diamond, and I'm pretty sure I'm married to one. High school is a real canonical time for people. It means different things. Regret, growth, elation, torment. It's the reason why people still make movies about high school. It's just a thing that a lot of people remember, both good and bad. So I can understand where you're coming from. But all I would say is with that is this. It's kind of like whenever you hear about animals, like sharks and bears, and somebody who really knows some stuff will tell you like, well, honestly, they're as scared of you as you are of them. That's what's happening. The people that you are talking to are as frightened about your judgment of them as you are frightened of their judgment of you. So just understand that we live in a world of shattered dreams and shared trauma, and if you want to avoid people for it, I think that's totally legit. And if you want to indulge people about it, I think it's totally legit. Also, if you don't want to go to that reunion, please don't join that Facebook group. And finally, Musical Chemist in the chat writes, your story about having anxiety when your boss emails you happens to me all the time. It used to especially bother me. Sorry. Hold on. Let me go back. It used to especially bother me when I was in graduate school. I would get extremely anxious getting an email from my advisor during off hours, even though 90% of those emails were simple questions. 10% were, hey, can you take on this huge task, or where's that data? I used to have nightmares that he was emailing me with a huge task, and when he did, it would totally ruin my day. I never really dealt with it well, but it was a huge sign to me that I wasn't in the right job. My current job I really love, and while I get anxious receiving emails now, it's not nearly as bad as it was in graduate school. When my current boss emails me, I know he doesn't expect an immediate response, and he has a lot more respect for my time, both work and personal. However, this anxiety affects me in other areas, and frankly, I don't deal with it well. I wish I could be disciplined about checking my email only at certain times instead of seeing every work and personal email on my phone the minute it comes in. I think that would help me a lot. I never really considered the phrase anxiety until recently because I really didn't understand what it meant. Listening to your podcast and the stories and hearing from listeners has helped me better understand why I am stressed and anxious all the time. I wish I had better tools to deal with it. Well, again, here's the armchair psychologist part. Musical chemist, the key was inside you all along. There's no magical remedy. You just keep dealing with things and chipping away bit by bit, and then eventually you look back and you realize how much progress you made. A lot of times that comes when dealing with a professional. Other times you can do it by yourself. Different strokes, different folks. But this is the thing about anxiety, and this is the thing about depression. Whether it be the fetishized version that we hear in Those Were the Days, or One for My Baby, or One for the Road, or what Musical Chemist deals with whenever he still, to this day, gets an email from somebody. We are all sharing the same, drink we call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone to get all Jolien about it. We all have anxiety. We all deal with it. And the biggest realization you're ever going to have in your life when dealing with other people is realizing that aloofness and aggression is effectively just another mirrored representation of anxiety. The people that react the strongest, that leave the biggest trail of wake behind them, are often the ones that are the most anxious. And sometimes we allow it to bleed into our own lives. But really, if we're going to look at this in a herd mentality capacity, getting better with yourself, getting better with your own self-judgment, getting better with your own self-worth is not only you living your best life, it's your neighbor living their best life by proxy. Because pain is communicable. And we do it all the time. You know what I'm talking about when you're in a bad mood and you wind up spreading it to somebody close to you because they're the ones that have the gumption to come and try to make you feel better, and you just spit that venom right on them. Why? Because you got it in your mouth. There's nothing else you were going to do with it. That torch that you found, it's got to be drowned or it's going to explode. So what are you going to do? Well, you're going to listen to some drunk songs. You're going to guzzle some white wine. And you're going to cheers yourself and your neighbor and say, hey, you want to know what? That's one for my baby and another one for the road. Let's get better with ourselves. Let's understand our anxieties, and let's understand that we define them and they do not define us.
What do you say we both just leave? Why is
That has been the Justin Robert Young Show. You can email me, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Thank you to Datak, D-A-T-A-K. You can find their work at soundcloud.com/DATAK-2. Of course, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Justin R. Young. If you are on Snapchat, then give me a fish face. Fish face is this week. Fish face on Snapchat. Justin R. Young. Hey, if you want the Contender thing, well, you better pre-order the new $10 expansion tomorrow. Of course, you can join the conversation at diamondclub.reddit.com. This is your old pal, Justin Robert Young, reminding you to please don't.
Do you like how your hair gets cut? Do you like when your friends fuck up? Don't you think you have had enough? I'll need more advice till something sounds nice, but line by line just shines back at me.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.